Just after noon on the 30th of August 2018, a tractor-trailer hauling produce was heading east on Interstate 40 near Thoreau, New Mexico, about 100 miles west of Albuquerque, when the tread peeled off one of its front tires. The driver lost the wheel. The rig plunged left across the dirt median, and it met the westbound lanes head-on at highway speed, directly in the path of Greyhound bus number 1333, which had left Albuquerque for Phoenix and Los Angeles with 49 people aboard. The collision sheared the entire front end off the bus. 8 people died, among them the bus driver, Luis Alvarez, age 50, and passengers whose names the medical investigator released over the following days: Sadie Thomas, Charla Baje, Terry Mason, Veronica Williams. Of the dozens aboard, exactly 6 escaped without injury. A passing truck driver who filmed the aftermath, a man 2 years into the profession, told reporters he broke down and cried for 30 minutes at the side of the road. A state police spokesman summarized the scene in one word: chaos. And here is the detail to hold on to, because it is the key to this entire story. Nothing exotic happened that day. No blizzard, no fog, no cliff, no hairpin curve. A tire failed on a flat, straight, sunlit road, and there was nothing in the 60 feet of dirt between the eastbound and westbound lanes to stop 40 tons of momentum from crossing it. That is Interstate 40 in New Mexico, 374 miles of 4-lane freeway that looks like the safest road imaginable and ranks among the deadliest in the United States. And why that is true, why this particular ribbon of pavement has killed so many people, is what we are talking about today. Start with the numbers, because they are genuinely hard to believe about a modern interstate. In a federal study of crash data from 2004 to 2008, the New Mexico section of I-40 recorded 247 fatal crashes, killing 293 people, about 2/3 of a death for every single mile. A later analysis counted 344 fatal crashes and 395 deaths, and ranked the corridor the 6th most dangerous stretch of interstate in the country. And in a recent county-by-county ranking of America's 100 deadliest highways, the segment of I-40 through Bernalillo County alone, the Albuquerque stretch, placed 5th in the entire nation, with 48 fatal collisions, keeping company with freeways in Los Angeles and Chicago that carry several times its traffic. Think about that for a moment. A high-desert freeway through a state of 2 million people is producing urban California levels of death. That does not happen by accident. It happens by design, or more precisely, by the collision of a design with a geography and an economy the design never anticipated. To understand why, you have to go back to what this road replaced. I-40 across New Mexico is the direct successor of US Route 66, the mother road, which after 1937 ran straight west from Tucumcari through Santa Rosa, Albuquerque, Grants, and Gallup to the Arizona line. Beginning in the late 1950s and finishing in the early 1980s, the interstate was laid down over and beside that alignment, and towns that had lived on Route 66 traffic, Tucumcari, with its 2,000 motel rooms, and its Tucumcari Tonight billboards, Santa Rosa with its diners, Glen Rio on the Texas line, were bypassed one by one and left to fade. The new road was engineered to the gold standard of its era: wide lanes, gentle curves, controlled access, a design that removed almost every hazard the old road had. What it could not remove, and in fact amplified, were 3 facts about this corridor. First, it is one of the most important freight arteries on the continent, the shortest all-weather line between the ports of Southern California and the markets of the South and East, which means an extraordinary share of its traffic is 80,000-pound trucks, tens of thousands of commercial vehicles crossing the state every day, running around the clock. Second, the speed limit is 75 miles per hour, which in practice means 80 and up, across enormous empty distances. And third, for most of those 374 miles, the only thing separating eastbound from westbound traffic is a strip of dirt, high mass, high speed, and an unguarded median. That is the machine. Now add the ingredients New Mexico feeds into it. The corridor is not actually flat. It is high. I-40 crosses the Continental Divide at over 7,200 feet near the very stretch where the Greyhound crash happened. An elevation brings weather that travelers from either coast do not expect. Black ice on bridges in shoulder seasons, sudden snow squalls that turn a dry road white in minutes, spring windstorms that push walls of dust across the lanes and drop visibility to nothing, the same winds that shove high-profile trailers around like sails. The distances are vast and hypnotic. Long straightaways where the horizon never seems to move, and fatigue does quiet, patient work on drivers who have been rolling since Amarillo or Flagstaff. Drowsiness does not need a curve to kill when the median is dirt and the oncoming lane is 60 feet away. The rural emptiness that makes the drive beautiful also means that when a crash happens, the nearest trauma center may be an hour or more away, and in trauma medicine, the first hour is the whole game. A survivable injury in a city becomes a fatal one at milepost 90. And overlaid on all of it is New Mexico's oldest road tragedy, alcohol. Federal statistics have found that roughly 1 of every 3 fatal crashes in the state involves a drinking driver, one of the worst rates in the nation, and the interstate collects its share, including wrong-way drivers entering the freeway at night against traffic, a scenario that on I-40 usually ends in the deadliest crash geometry that exists, the head-on at closing speeds above 150 miles per hour. As recently as November 2025, a suspected drunk driver going the wrong way near Gallup triggered a fatal collision involving multiple semi-trucks. The pattern does not retire, it reloads, and the trucks deserve their own reckoning because they are both victims and instrument. Crashes involving large commercial vehicles are roughly 4 times more likely to be fatal than crashes between cars, a function of simple physics. A loaded semi outweighs a sedan 20 to 1, and in any exchange of momentum, the sedan pays. On I-40's New Mexico miles, the truck share of traffic is so high that nearly every serious crash involves one somehow. A passenger car rear-ending a slow climber, a trucker asleep at the 14th hour drifting onto the shoulder where a family waits by a flat tire, a jackknife on ice that turns the freeway into a wall, tire debris, the alligators of shredded retread lying in the lanes at night. The 2018 Thoreau catastrophe was, in the National Transportation Safety Board's eventual accounting, a tire failure crash, the tread separating from a front tire of a rig owned by a Fresno carrier, and the safety board's investigators pulled the tires, the electronic data recorders, the maintenance records, looking for the chain of small failures, because there always is one, a tire worn or damaged or badly maintained, a highway with no median barrier at that milepost, a bus with no realistic chance to evade. Every link ordinary, the sum 8 funerals. There is a grim roll call to be read along this road, and it never stays current for long. September 2023, 3 semi-trailers in a fatal pileup near Gallup. The interstate closed for hours. January 2024, another multi-truck crash shutting eastbound lanes in the Grants Gallup corridor. November 2025, the wrong-way driver and the secondary crashes that rippled back through the stopped traffic behind the first one, because on a freeway carrying this much freight, the crash you die in may be the one that happens a mile behind the crash that stopped you. The lawyers who work this corridor, and there are firms in Albuquerque that do little else, describe federal jury verdicts in the millions for families of drivers killed between Gallup and the state line, and the fact that interstate crash litigation is effectively a regional industry tells you something the official statistics only imply. Around Gallup itself, the danger spills off the freeway entirely. The old Route 66 frontage, now State Road 118, ranks among the deadliest stretches in New Mexico for pedestrians. People walking the shoulder between town and the truck stops at night, invisible until the last half second. A quiet, chronic tragedy interwoven with the region's poverty and its long, painful history with alcohol, and the interstate roars past it all at 75. I dwell on the causes at this length because the alternative, the version where the road is simply cursed, lets everyone off too easily. Nothing about I-40's death toll is mysterious. It is arithmetic. Take the nation's freight and funnel it through 2 lanes each way. Post the limit at 75. Stretch the road across 374 miles of fatigue-inducing emptiness at elevations where ice forms and dust flies. Leave the median unguarded for mile after rural mile, because cable barrier costs money and the traffic counts are technically low. Add a state with a devastating impaired driving problem and some of the longest ambulance rides in America. Then run that experiment every day for 50 years. The result is not bad luck. The result is the predictable output of the inputs, and every agency involved knows it, which is why the improvements when they come are always specific and always late. median barriers installed segment by segment after the crashes that justified them, truck parking shortages studied while exhausted drivers park on exit ramps, rumble strips ground into shoulders that already carry memorial crosses. The road is safer than it was. The ledger is still open. And yet, and this must be said plainly, this remains one of the great American drives. If you cross New Mexico on I-40 with the sun coming up behind you at Tucumcari, you will watch the plains break into mesas, the mesas into the red cliffs west of Grants, the long climb to the Continental Divide where the air is thin and bright, the lava flows of El Malpais black against the grass, and finally the sandstone ramparts around Gallup, burning orange in the late light, with the double-stacked trains of the Transcontinental Railroad running beside you for 100 miles like a second parallel river of freight. The ghost of Route 66 travels with you the whole way, in the ruined motels of Tucumcari, the neon that still lights up in Albuquerque along Central Avenue, the trading posts and the teepee curio shops, an entire vanished economy visible from the freeway that killed it. Drive it, but drive it knowing what it is. Check your tires before you cross, all of them, because tread failure at 80 in July heat is this road's signature murder weapon. Fill your tank when it is half empty. Do not push through drowsiness, because the emptiness that lulls you is the same emptiness that will delay the ambulance. Give every truck the room you would want if you were the one holding 40 tons on a windy downgrade. And when you pass milepost 50, west of the Continental Divide near Thoreau, where the land is wide and unremarkable, and the median is a strip of dirt exactly like every other strip of dirt, understand that you are crossing the place where a tire came apart on an ordinary Thursday afternoon in August of 2018, and 8 people who had boarded a bus in Albuquerque never reached Phoenix. There is no monument there. The freeway does not slow down for its own history. The trucks pour through, 3,000 miles of America to feed, and the high desert takes no position on any of it, the way it took no position on the wagon roads or Route 66 or the railroad, patient beyond all human scheduling. While the traffic streams west into the sun at 80 miles an hour, every driver certain, as every driver always is, that the statistics describe somebody else.